Hi, everybody over at TrekBBS. I just wanted to switch over to a different mode because my fingers are tired of typing. Obviously, I have a great deal of difficulty controlling my verbosity, and it just struck me that there are certain things I wanted to show about this model that would be easier if I just did a video and then showed from various angles some of the things that I'm trying to accomplish and some of the things that are problems. It's Tin Man and I. Tin Man, I'm really not trying to be condescending to you. Somehow we have managed to get off on the wrong foot here in this thread. I don't know what the heck is happening there. I hope we can straighten it out and continue on amicably. As I tried to point out in that one post, I spent a number of paragraphs saying I really liked the picture you linked me to because it pointed out, I think, that there are problems with taking this particular ship and trying to do the things with it that I'm trying to do. So there, we're both using the word problem. Great. Anyway, um, Carrie L. Brown and Yarn. Thank you for your most recent comments, and this is the reason why I'm posting this as a video. So what we're looking at right here, you're looking at one of my two screens for the latest version of Blender, and right now I'm focused on this project, and it's what you're looking at right there. And you're looking at, I think, the latest render. So now let me pop over here, and I'm going to switch over. This is the camera view, and now we're looking at it from the side, and voila! All of a sudden, you're seeing the ew that I see when I'm working on the model. Because there's a lot of distortion here in the dorsal because the dorsal's been twisted around a lot. It's been moved in a lot of different locations. And you can really clearly see just how monstrously long the secondary hull has become. Although I'm not really averse to that. I'm even seriously considering extending it even further. And apparently, so was Matt Jeffries at different points. So I don't feel too bad about that. Oh, hello. What are you doing there? Let me get rid of you. I'll just turn you off. There we go. That was the duplicate copy so that I can see it from different angles. Render it from different angles. So here we have the ship right now as it stands. Carrie, you had said something about the nacelles possibly looking a little the motion picture-ish. Even tossish, actually, because of the exact position. I deliberately went for that with this particular version of the model. And I just really wanted to show you they're not even connected. I mean, I've done very little work here. From this angle, look at where I've got the impulse engines. They are just like right above the center line on this. And I think one of the things that I really want to see is the impulse engines absolutely must, in my view, be on or very close to the axis of the warp drive engine. Okay, the big circle, that center axis on that's where the thrust from the impulse engines has to be. Also, I know there's a number of people who keep saying let's go with an ellipse, let's go with an ellipse. And you're right, it will make it look better. I honestly do. I've squashed this a couple of times. In fact, let me demonstrate right now. I'll just go right in here and I will grab that sucker and I will look at it from behind. I will scale it along the z-axis and bring it down and okay. All right, now we're going into it a little bit, but that's okay. We've actually intersected there a little bit. But if you look at it from the side, ignoring this stuff over here, it does look better. You're absolutely right about that. But one of the things that I want to do with this is I want to take the inside of this and have all sorts of fantastic moving parts going on in there. Very non Jeffries-ish. In that, what I want to do is I want, moving parts in here that you need a spacesuit on to get to. And Matt Jeffries is famous for having a ship design that is intended to be, serviced from the inside. Why do I want to do this? You know what? For the same reason that I'm building a ring ship in the first place, I'm playing with the ground rules, and I'm coming up with something new. But the fact of the matter is, I've also considered that longer term, the next generation version of this enterprise, the 1701D version of this enterprise, will have elliptical rings. Oh yeah, people are rolling their eyes right now. But no, really, my thinking is that in the first version there will be a series of concentric rings inside of here that all kind of rotate around, lazy Susanish around the inside. Tremendous masses with tremendous energies and doing all sorts of tremendous things to bend the fabric of space. Whereas in the next generation version, these will be more like belts with high degrees of articulation that allow different shapes to be explored to optimize the warp field. So in this particular era, and perhaps even the NX-01 version of this ship, the warp drives are circular for their simplicity. Um, so there's that. Also, Carrie, you've mentioned a couple of times about the making two rings, and I keep forgetting to talk about this. Yes, I agree with you. There should be two rings. However, for now, for this shape, I'm representing it with one ring. And what we'll see when I get into this thing is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to use details to split up this ring. Although it probably won't be this ring. It'll be another ring that I build. It'll be very similar to it. So now, Carrie, what you were talking about was, I think, it sounded to me like what you wanted to do was remove, obviously, these obscenities. Um, Yarn doesn't like them either. It's funny because I look at it and I think, oh, that's so pretty. Everyone will like this. And then I get, the two next posts say it basically sucks. So what I want to do is, I think, Carrie, if I understand you correctly, you're saying do this. And I'm going to bring that along the x-axis, and I'll bring this thing out there, and oh yeah, let's along the x-axis also. So now we've got this big old spike coming out of the back, and then I could attach the ring to that. And so what we get, let me grab that ring and move that back along the axis. All right. So maybe I'd put it back here somewhere. Ooh, it's kind of cool looking actually. And then I'll get rid of these guys. There we are. There she is. Oops. And get rid of this guy right over there. And now I'll just say delete. No. Do I want to delete that one? Yeah, I do want to delete that one by vertices. And there we have that. So now I'll just come in here and pop in and clean this up here. Whoops. And there, say fill. And then this one. Look, I did two different ways. Hello, why isn't that? Because I'm hitting the wrong key. And there, fill that one in. There we go. So now that fixes that. And then once I've got that, let me pop in here, and I'm going to put in a little loop here, and then I can do this. I can come in and do a further extrude. So now let's go over here, and I'll say extrude straight up. Don't worry about the distortion you see. Ooh. Whoa! Sometimes there's this thing called serendipity. And I think that looks kind of cool. Well, let's bring back the other one. That's actually kind of neat. Anyway, am I understanding correctly? Is that what you're kind of thinking? The other thing I want to point out is looking at it from this angle. There's a couple of things that I've settled on that I really kind of at this moment really like. First of all, I want the primary hull to look very evocative of the original primary hull. I really want to keep from this deck up looking as much like the original as possible while adding a few other little details here and there that might be useful. And everything from this deck down is a total redesign. And what I'm thinking right here is that this is some sort of an equipment deck. It's not full height. That it contains possibly weapons. Maybe phasers are up in here. That there are landing gear in the saucer itself that extend down, and then there's grabbers that hold the landing gear and lock the saucer in place on multiple points around the periphery, or maybe one big one that kind of locks in there, or maybe even this section right here could be a little bit higher. Maybe it is a full height deck, and it extends into the hull above it, and then locks in up there. So I really want this idea that that little teeny tiny dorsal that connected the original Enterprise's saucer to the secondary hull, it was never looked to me to be very strong. And every time I attempted to build the AMT model, that was one of the things that I struggled with. Not the most, it wasn't the hardest point to contend with. It was certainly the nacelles that kind of drooped into their own little thing. But then there was the secondary or primary hull that kind of like insisted on tipping off of the off of the dorsal, unless I very carefully glued and anchored the thing and walked away from it for several hours before coming back. And that just cries out to me that it really isn't that strong a connection. What I want to do is I want to strengthen that connection. I want to make that connection to the secondary hull as secure as possible. I want to eliminate, sorry about the bangs, and I want to eliminate the other difficulties that I'm having, that I see rather, with the fragility of the original neck. Of course, that fragility also might speak volumes about the materials that are used. One of the things that I think we get away from the original Star Trek, as we analyze it and try to make it more real worldish, is that maybe there was a lot of 50s kind of science fiction thinking going on in the original show, and that one of the things was that dorsal was made out of amazing materials and had amazing capabilities, that we don't have a clue about in the 20th into the 21st century. See, centuries. So, but I'm afraid I'm kind of I guess a neo-Luddite in that respect, and I look at that dorsal and I say, ooh, that's not good. I look at the pylons holding up the nacelles and ooh, those aren't good either. I'd like to do something about that. So anyway, here's the latest. Very quickly, I kind of I shoved it right out there, and I'd like to know what you guys think. Is this what you're thinking about there, Carrie? Does this look like an interesting direction? I really love this fin-shaped pylon now up here. That came out completely accidentally. That tells me that right now we've got some amazing heat radiator in there, that is perhaps doing something to help the environmental systems keep the crew from roasting when they've got their amazing reactors running at full power. Perhaps this will even glow while the engine is running at full speed, while the engines are running at full speed. It's actually kind of a really neat shape.